Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader just released and is the first classic CRPG set in the 40k verse. You will embark on a perilous journey across the Coronus expanse, venturing beyond the Imperium's borders to seek fortune, glory and forbidden relics. As a game, Rogue Trader is significantly lore-heavy, with massive amounts of attention lavished upon the narrative aspect and character development. The choices you make have an active impact on your game, and your conversation responses will shut down or move forward the story, so think carefully about how you choose to interact with characters. This game just released, and with a narrative this complex, post-release bugs are actively being updated, including a big patch this week. Beyond the isometric turn-based combat, you also will directly command your ship and crew, and engage in strategic space battles against pirates and Xenos threats. Explore uncharted planets, negotiate with Xenos, and make critical decisions that will shape the destiny of your dynasty. For your decisions will influence the fate of entire worlds. Rogue Trader is one of the most well-written and immersive 40k games ever created in my opinion, and in the years to come I can imagine many replays will only cement this. It also offers up to 6-player cooperative over what is a long campaign. Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader is available now on PC, PS5, Xbox Series S and X. Lead your companions into the void, for even with the support of an Astartes, Eldari Ranger or a valiant Sister of Battle, your success is far from certain. Will you emerge as a legendary rogue trader or succumb to the endless abyss of the void? In the darkest and most threatening recesses of the 40k galaxy, the Drukhari, also known as the Dark Eldar, stand as one of the most troubling, sinister and malevolent forces who threaten all of humanity. These sadistic ancient beings are a splinter faction of the ancient Eldari race, who in the pursuit of unconstrained pleasure, sensory experiences and power, have embraced the consuming darkness of the warp. Although not in the way feared by most humans, for unlike the minions of Chaos, the Dark Eldar remain masters of their own destiny, albeit constrained by the limitations placed upon them during the great fall of their Eldar race. The Drukhari are a strange Eldar sub-faction whose fall from grace occurred during the cataclysmic events that led to the birth of the Chaos god Slaanesh. This event, known as the Fall and rarely spoken about by the Eldar, saw their once glorious civilization collapse into decadence and depravity. The survivors of this, now known as the Dark Eldar, feed upon the suffering of others to stave off the eternal hunger of Slaanesh, for their very souls are bound to the Prince of Pleasure. In stark contrast to their Craftworld cousins who seek to avoid the clutches of Slaanesh by other means, the Drukhari revel in their excesses, their cruelty and sadism, their society an intricate web of power struggles and backstabbing, each Dark Eldar constantly vying for dominance over others. They raid real space to capture slaves whose souls they will consume in order to prolong their own existence, creating a cycle of eternal torment which sustains them. At the heart of the Drukhari civilization lies Commorragh, a sprawling labyrinthine city that exists within the Webway. The Dark City is a twisted reflection of the Eldar's former glory, now a dark and malevolent metropolis where every imaginable vice is indulged without consequence. Its spires pierce the void of the Webway, a testament to the Drukhari's mastery over this mysterious dimension. Commorragh exists as a city of paradoxes, where the pursuit of pleasure, sensory experience and power coexists with both no risk and yet constant threat. For the streets are teeming with deadly traps, predatory beasts, the ever-present threat of political assassination. The Drukhari know only one way to gain power, to take it, by any means necessary. At the city's heart lies the throne of the supreme ruler, the enigmatic and powerful figure Azdrabale Vecht, who has somehow maintained his position for centuries through sheer cunning and absolute ruthlessness. Commorragh exists within what is known as the Webway. This is the vast interdimensional network of tunnels and passages that span the space between warp and materium, connecting different points into real space. The Webway itself was originally a creation of the Old Ones, an ancient race who, for whatever reason, learned to traverse the galaxy without need of the immaterium. Unlike the perilous warp, the Webway is a stable and controlled dimension, immune to the predations of chaos. Its construction may well have been, like so many things, a predicted necessity. In the contemporary period, the Webway is maintained and navigated by psychic beings, primarily Eldar, who possess the ability to manipulate and repair this realm. They lack, though, the ability to construct and extend its reach. Eldari psychic mastery also allows the denizens of the Dark City to traverse great distances without the need for conventional warp travel, avoiding the dangers of the immaterium. The Dark Eldar in particular utilize the Webway for their raiding parties, enabling them to strike swiftly and disappear without a trace. The entrance to these corridors, known as Webway gates, for obvious reasons, are concealed entrances that connect real space to the hidden dimension. Eldar craft worlds, the nomadic homes of the Eldar, often have Webway gates constructed within them, thereby allowing them to travel swiftly anywhere in the galaxy, even while their craft worlds travel at sublight speed. Something many do not fully understand, though, when it comes to the Dark City of the Drukhari, is that Commorragh itself exists as a massive Webway portal. It is a centralized hub that connects various parts of the galaxy, and the Drukhari use smaller hidden gates to launch their surprise raids on unsuspecting worlds, capturing slaves to satiate their unquenchable thirst for suffering. These gates are of course also well-guarded secrets, hidden from the prying eyes of their enemies, and the locations can often constantly shift to maintain the element of surprise. The Eldar mastery of the Webway is one of their most powerful tools and weapons, for this hidden dimension allows them to conduct their activities, which always lead to the manipulation of space and time, creating shortcuts and hidden passages that only they are able to navigate. For this reason, they fiercely guard the secrets of the Webway, and those who attempt to breach its defences often face dire consequences. The Drukhari in particular are notorious for their extreme measures in protecting their Webway gates. And this is of course due to the fact that the Webway remains central to the lifestyle and modus operandi of the Drukhari, emerging from the shadows as a terrifying predatory force, architects of unimaginable suffering. Commorragh itself is a woeful reminder of the Eldar's fall from grace, a city of eternal night, where pleasure and pain intertwine, a hidden labyrinth connecting the galaxy's distant corners, a tool that may still represent some form of salvation for the Eldar themselves, and a weapon of terror for those who bleed forth from the shadows, to consume the souls of mortals, dragging them back into the realm of suffering and torment beyond comprehension. The suffocating dread instilled by the Drukhari exists as an oppressive symphony of pure malevolence that emanates from the shadowed realms of Commorragh. Unlike more brutish, random Xenos attacks, the sadistic elegance and mastery of the torments they unleash, paired with often multiple raids upon a singular world, can cast an insidious pall of fear across entire systems or indeed any who encounter them. For citizens of the Imperium who find themselves facing such incursions, the air itself seems tainted with the essence of suffering only dreamed in their worst nightmares. The eldritch beings of the Dark Dimension revel in the artistry of pain. In their presence, a visceral awareness of one's own vulnerability takes root, and the fabric of reality feels as if it could smother you into oblivion. The anticipation of the cruelty, the torturous, unpredictable whims of the homunculi, and the ever-present threat of being permanently exhibited as one of the Drukhari's twisted machinations creates a suffocating atmosphere, where the line between fear and, for some unexpectedly, exhilaration blurs, leaving those who survive in the dread wake haunted by an inescapable sense of persistent, impending doom. For the Drukhari are not mere marauders, they are by definition the architects of pain. They conduct real space raids with surgical precision and cruelty, and these incursions are rarely random, but strategic, targeting specific worlds for reasons known only to the dark minds of Commorragh. Chosen worlds are often located on the fringes of Imperial control, far from the protective eye of the Imperium's main forces, and this calculated approach ensures their raids are met with minimal resistance, allowing the Dark Eldar to indulge in their sadistic desires without fear of immediate or effective reprisal. The Coronus Expanse is a dangerous realm for explorers of the Imperium, for it is a well-known haven of darkness. The Coronus Expanse stands as exactly the kind of prime hunting ground favoured by the Drakari. This lawless expanse situated in the galactic west is a chaotic frontier where the Imperium's influence wanes. Rogue traders and pirates seek fortune, and the light of the Astronomicon grows faint. But also, in the dark and shadowed vastness of the Coronus Expanse, the Drakari find the perfect environment for their malevolent designs. If you want to know more also about the Coronus Expanse, see my previous video about rogue traders on screen now. Within the Expanse, isolated colonies and fledgling settlements, often established for resource exploitation or exploration, make tempting targets. The absence of a strong Imperial presence and the scarcity of reinforcements creates a void that the Dark Eldar can exploit with impunity, striking swiftly before vanishing again into the webway, very likely before Imperial response forces can even mobilize. And despite how they may appear to humans, such raids are in fact not indiscriminate acts of violence. They're carefully orchestrated campaigns designed to extract maximum suffering. Specific worlds are chosen based on a twisted criteria known only to the Drakari Archons and their shadowy cabals. These criteria may include the presence of psychic resonance, unique resources, or simply the potential for exquisite agony and slave acquisition. Dark Eldar take captives not for ransom or strategic leverage, but to harvest their souls in the darkest recesses of Commorragh. The screams of the tortured echo through the webway, feeding the insatiable hunger of the Drakari and ensuring their very existence persists. Unsurprisingly, the Imperium, constrained by its own scale and bureaucratic inefficiencies, struggles to fortify its sprawling dominion. Remote regions such as the Coronus Expanse present a continued problem where the influence of the Adeptus Terra is weakest. The lack of a vigilant Imperial Navy, sufficient militarum garrisons, enable the predations of the Dark Eldar. And worse, this can equally create a breeding ground for chaos or those who wish to involve themselves in the dark practices of cult worship. Human populations of these worlds are mostly left to fend for themselves against the horrors of darkness, and thus may often turn to desperate measures, including forbidden pacts, cults, or whatever option is presented to them which will enable their survival and protection, thereby further destabilizing the region and weakening the Imperium's grip. This creates an ongoing desperate struggle for the Imperium, and perhaps to the surprise of no one, when eventually a response comes, it is not the salvation many might hope for, as it is often reactionary and punitive. Imperial reprisals are conducted with the intent to purge the darkness, but the Drakari's elusive nature allows them to slip away, leaving behind only the echoes of their sadistic laughter. The cycle repeats, with the Imperium attempting to fortify its fringes, and the Drakari, ever resourceful malevolent, find new avenues to exploit. In realms such as the Coronus Expanse and beyond, the Drakari persist as an unyielding and insidious threat upon the Imperium. Their raids, born from the depths of Commorragh and executed with precision, exploit the vulnerabilities of isolated colonies and cut-off regions, perpetuating this endless cycle of darkness, which enables the Drakari to ravage with impunity the fringes of Imperial space. Across the void of the Coronus Expanse echo the screams of the tortured. The harrowing torments visited upon by Drakari artisans symbolically scar the galactic reputation and face of the Emperor's Imperium. For most, the very idea of venturing into Commorragh, the dark heart of the Drakari, is a nightmarish prospect, for indeed any race in the galaxy, let alone humans. But for those who possess some misguided desire or lust for the rewards that may be acquired, they still may attempt such a perilous journey. But this will mean navigating a treacherous path through the webway, a feat only the most skilled and knowledgeable individuals would firstly even be aware of to begin with, let alone contemplate undertaking. For to access this hidden realm, one must first understand its intricacies as a realm separate from both the immaterium and real space. The webway is a labyrinthine construct of tunnels and passages that crisscross the space between warp and materium, connecting various nodal points all across the galaxy. It is a realm where the laws of physics and time bend to the will of the Eldari psychers who navigate it, enabling them to travel across space in a fraction of the time it would take those using material or warp space. Within the Imperium, there are innumerable explorers who seek the riches or lost ancient archaeotech that could be potentially acquired by a journey into the webway. The Imperium of Man possesses a wealth of ancient lore and forbidden knowledge scattered throughout its dark, slowly rotting archives of the Administratum, Inquisition, and the heavily guarded chambers of the Adeptus Mechanicus. These repositories, somewhere lost among the mountains of seemingly endless data stacks of recorded information, contain cryptic clues and fragments of information which describe understanding of the webway and the pathways which may well lead to Commorragh itself. For those who seek to uncover these ancient fragments of knowledge which could lead to unimaginable rewards, or equally a horrifying demise, only exist in limited scope within the structure of the Imperium. Among those who could access such information are rogue traders, inquisitors, or the more radical splinter cells within the Adeptus Mechanicus. Perhaps the wealthy may be able to acquire fragments, but only those with the authority and autonomy to choose such an expedition would be able to spend the time and resources necessary to assemble fragments of ancient information, thereby unlocking the potential to piece together a navigational route to the Forbidden City. There are those who may take even greater risks to achieve their goals. For the most perilous avenue to Commorragh involves striking a deal with the denizens of the Dark City themselves. Drukhari have been known to form alliances with outsiders, usually for their own inscrutable reasons. Individuals or factions seeking entry to Commorragh might attempt to negotiate with the Archons and succumb to the temptations offered by the Dark Eldar. Understandably though, entering into any alliance with the Drukhari is at the very best a double-edged sword. Their whims are fickle, and the price for their assistance may be one's soul, servitude, or worse. Those who dare to tread this path must be prepared for the consequences of dealing with the masters of Commorragh. For anyone who even understood what was involved in travelling to such a place would surely well understand that their journey before them was to venture into the very heart of darkness, a journey that would test the limits of human capability and resolve, and to face the unknown, navigating twisted passages of the webway, only to confront the malevolent individuals amid one of the most nightmarish cities in the galaxy. To travel to such a place and escape with your life, one must tread lightly, for no matter who one may make a bargain with or arrange entrance and passage to the city, there are far more Drukhari who would hold no interest in honouring deals made and take more of an interest in what benefit they can extract from your living soul, to take possession of your human form before twisting it into a life of endless suffering. For the majority of humans brought to Commorragh though, this will be very much against their will, for they face the unimaginable horror and perpetual torment of residing within the City of Darkness. Once abducted from the fringes of the Imperium or captured during a raid on an isolated colony, these unfortunate souls find themselves thrust into a realm where pleasure and pain are intertwined. Their existence becomes a perpetual nightmare as part of the Dark City's twisted carnival. For Commorragh is a city that thrives on excess and sadism, a sprawling metropolis suspended within the webway. Concealed from the watchful eyes of the Imperium, the captive humans within become this twisted carnival of suffering. They are pawns in the cruel games of the Drukhari. Stripped of their humanity, they become playthings for the sadistic pleasures of the Dark Eldar, who hold an insatiable appetite for witnessing and bathing among the agony of others. The Drukhari are infamous for this. and their captured humans, who they simply refer to as slaves, serve no purpose other than to satisfy the desires of their twisted captors. They're subjected to unspeakable, endlessly creative torments, and the Dark Eldar, much like their Craftworld counterparts, remain technologically advanced, and so are more than capable of maintaining the lives and suffering of those they have brought to their city. The dark alleys and towering spires of the city echo with the anguished cries of those who have become fodder for the Drukhari's perverse entertainment, and who are perpetually maintained for the enjoyment of its citizens. This can often mean being twisted into grotesque parodies of human form and involved in all manner of debasement that, while I am creative enough to imagine, Lord Algo would undoubtedly punish me for were I to describe in extended detail. Entertainment comes in many forms, of course, and for some among the Dark Eldar, their experimental curiosity is one pastime they indulge. In the depths of the shadowed laboratories of Commorragh, captive humans are subjected to experiments that push the boundaries of sensory experiences in such a manner that words like pain, pleasure, endurance do not begin to come close to being appropriate in describing them. This sadistic curiosity of the Drukhari knows no limit, and they endlessly indulge themselves in experimenting upon the mysteries of the human psyche and physical form. Whether this be psychic experimentation, the testing of dark technologies, macabre artistic creations, or for the humans to serve as unwilling subjects in a grim theatre of agony for those who bear witness to such things. Barely a step above this, of course, exists their gladiatorial pits, where captives are forced to endure in the blood sports of the Dark City. Like all Eldari, the Drukhari enjoy the movement and creativity they see in all things. Much like the Harlequins, the Drukhari practice the art of a brutal dance between life and death. For the humans thrown into the arenas, armed with often little more than their own desperation, they will face off against one another, nightmarish creatures drawn from death worlds or the darkest corners of the webway. Worst of all, the Drukhari themselves, including famous individuals such as Ivrain. The Drukhari are the most terrifying of all for humans to face in such spectacles. They dance around their prey, who are entirely incapable of responding to the speed and precision of Eldar movements, before they are surgically carved apart in a dance of horrifying gore. The Drukhari death dancers slice their victims apart to the rapturous applause and cheering of spectators that echoes through the twisted architecture of Commorragh, covering the wails and crying screams of those few who are left partially alive in the process, undoubtedly to be dragged off to some new hell far below. In the Dark City, captive humans become effectively commodities traded for the pleasure of the Archons and the decadent elite. Auctioned to the highest bidders, they may find themselves serving as menial labour, personal attendants, or even as living art pieces for the haughty tastes of the Dark Eldar aristocracy. Each transaction is a reminder of their dehumanized existence in this heart of darkness. While such roles may seem far preferable to the fate of others, they are still living on borrowed time. Few will live a permanent life free from suffering or the predation of those who surround them, and who could, on the slightest whim, inflict more torment than any human could begin to imagine. Inevitably also, many humans are brought to Commorragh for one purpose alone, because Drukhari possess a particular fascination with the souls of their captives. In the spires and bowels of the city, captured humans are subjected to the so-called soul-draining rituals. This involves their very life essence being harvested that it might feed the hunger of their Dark Eldar masters, for their very essence will be consumed in the name of the Drukhari's perverse vitality, rejuvenating them and leaving the humans as drained husks. This process is a permanent necessity for the Drukhari because, despite their city in the webway largely protecting them from the warp god Slanesh, they are not entirely immune to the soul-leeching effects visited upon them, and so must continually replenish their soul energy. Thus, humans brought to Commorragh exist in a perpetual state of desperation and broken morale. Even those who swore to never give up, to escape, to survive, are eventually stripped of hope and their very humanity, where they would do literally anything asked of them to simply survive and avoid more pain. The strongest of their number may endure for a time, able to endure how their bodies and minds are twisted by the malevolent forces at play. Many others cannot endure and quickly become mentally broken beyond repair, little more than discarded humanoid puppets, husks who have had their very spirits extinguished by the twisted shadows that swallow the soul. There are few, if any, depths of depravity that the Drukhari will not sink to in their pursuits of pleasure and suffering, and despite it seeming implausible for them to remain creative enough after so long to not be entirely desensitized and thereby ever achieving diminishing returns from the suffering of their captives, somehow they find a way. Despite humans largely existing within Commorragh as the property of their captors, there always persist rumours of shadowy figures from the Imperium and beyond who are willing to somehow navigate the treacherous corridors of the webway that they may seek their fortunes within the Dark City. Human criminals, mercenaries and pirates can be driven by a potent blend of apathetic desperation, unconstrained ambition, or a pure thirst for forbidden power driven by fearless overconfidence. Many may well find themselves drawn to the malevolent embrace of Commorragh and the lure of the forbidden perversities that lie within. The underbelly of the Imperium is a decidedly ugly realm where poverty, slavery, desperation and all manner of unspeakable horrors cling like a wet sticky fog around the ankles of the great Imperium of mankind. Those who descend on the dark path of perverse human experience in the most extreme forms and who learn of the possibilities that could exist for them to experience within the realm of the Xenos may see Commorragh as a forbidden sanctuary, a place that could even offer them a chance at a better, safer life than exists for them within the Imperium. Similarly, criminals facing the relentless pursuit of Imperial authorities such as inquisitors, renegade mercenaries seeking lucrative opportunities, and pirates chased by whoever cares to take issue with their activities may all find the prospect of discovering a contact who can, even for a brief time, open the relative sanctuary, although realistically hardly safe, region of the Dark City. The promise of wealth, forbidden knowledge, and the twisted allure of the dark arts that thrive in Commorragh serve as beacons for those who have no place left in the Imperium's harsh embrace. The Drukhari weave a seductive tapestry that entices these lost souls to plunge the depths of the webway. Mercenaries can come to see Commorragh as even a marketplace for their skills and weaponry. The Drukhari are constantly embroiled in internal power struggles and external conflicts, and so may seek skilled warriors to bolster their ranks. Mercenaries driven by the promise of extravagant payment and the chance to unleash their lethal skills in the gladiatorial arenas of Commorragh may also willingly enter into contracts with the Dark Eldar. However, perhaps inevitably such individuals often become pawns in the deadly games orchestrated by the Drukhari Archons. The promise of power, exotic weaponry, and the opportunity to challenge the most formidable adversaries the galaxy has to offer makes the risk of betrayal or enslavement still a tempting gamble for those who have only ever known the grim existence of war. For the lawless, Commorragh can in fact appear a haven that surpasses even their most audacious dreams. With those who have found the skills or individuals necessary to navigate the webway, the twisted bazaars of Commorragh offer a thriving black market where rare goods elicit information and enslaved beings are traded with reckless abandon. Pirates may well ally themselves with the Drukhari, who provide them with safe harbours within the webway, secret anchorages from which they can plan their next raids and revel in the forbidden delights of the Dark City. Then there are the shadow brokers and smugglers. The darker corners of the Imperium cultivate individuals who will find fertile ground within Commorragh's twisting spires. These need not be the lowest of the low either. Very often these may be rogue traders or highborn, the nobility of the Imperium, and who have found cause to become intermediaries, facilitating the flow of contraband, forbidden knowledge, and slaves between the Imperium and the dark heart of the webway. It would be more than plausible for a rogue noble within a hive city to facilitate a dark network of slavery, funneling humans from the lowest depths of a hive into the darkened pits of Commorragh, with the promise of making obviously immense profits, paired with the thrill of operating beyond the reach of Imperial law. In the greater picture though, all humans who find themselves entangled in the outermost webs of Drakari control and who are pulled in by the twisted allure of Commorragh's illicit markets must walk a tightrope, for such alliances are fraught with peril. Betrayal is a constant companion in Commorragh's politics. Any humans driven by the desperation of their situation must navigate a delicate dance of survival and diplomacy among the factions vying for dominance within the Dark City, as inevitably the invisibly darkened threads will draw these shadowy figures deeper into the core web of Dark Eldar influence until they are fully entangled within a suffocating shroud of deception and danger, until inevitably they are consumed within the most hellish dungeons of the Drakari's realm. Understandably, the prospect of inadvertently stumbling into Commorragh is a terrifying prospect, yet thankfully very few have to contend with worrying about such eventualities. Yet in a vast and unpredictable galaxy, scenarios could unfold leading unsuspecting humans to the heart of the webway. One potential avenue for humans to find themselves within the twisted confines of Commorragh is by some accidental discovery of a webway entrance. Whether through exploratory missions, scientific endeavours, or sheer happenstance, humans could stumble upon a hidden gateway to the Eldar's interdimensional network. One might imagine a rogue trader or a daring exploratory expedition delving into the unknown fringe regions of the galaxy, of which the Coronis Expanse, where Rogue Trader takes place, is a solid example. Even further out though, in uncharted space or forgotten corners of a lost sector, intrepid individuals may chance upon an Eldar structure, an ancient, dormant webway gate obscured by time and neglect. Ignorant of the dangers that lie beyond, they activate the gate, unwittingly propelling themselves into the heart of the Dark City. What fate awaits them there is probably best not to think about. One of the most famous accidental incursions into Commorragh occurred in the 35th millennium, when the Dark City of the Drakari faced its greatest ordeal, as Azdrabel Vecht, a slave-turned-Drakon, that being a true-born Drakari officer in command of an elite regiment of Kabbalite warriors and lieutenant to their Cabbal's ruling Archon, manipulated an invasion by the Imperium, which would result in the overthrow of influential noble houses and solidify Vecht's rise to power. The Imperial invasion originated from the Desiderian Gulf, an area notorious for lost spacecraft, and unbeknownst to the Imperium, as we were just discussing, a hidden webway portal existed there, leading to the pirate fleets of Commorragh. As Vecht increased their raids, capturing Imperial Navy warships and invading human worlds, the Imperium reacted, leading to a confrontation between Vecht's Cabal of the Black Heart and the Salamanders chapter of the Astartes. During the clash, the Salamanders' strike cruiser Forgehammer was transported into Commorragh. Vecht, seeking to exploit the prized capture of a Space Marine captain, faced opposition from rival Archon Lord Zelian. The Drakari largely underestimated the resilience of the Space Marines though, thus leading to a protracted battle all within the confines of the captured Forgehammer. The Imperium retaliated with a massive fleet, including Space Marine chapters such as the Salamanders, Howling Griffins and Silver Skulls, with a fierce aerial and ground battle erupting across the vast region known as High Commorragh, with the Drakari and Astartes locked in intense combat. Facing such an imperial hammer of forces, the Dark Eldar's defences crumbled and the Imperium reclaimed the Forgehammer, liberating their trapped brothers. Eventually the Astartes escaped through the webway portal, having largely achieved their goals, but Commorragh was in disarray. The power vacuum created by the defeated noble houses allowed Vecht and his Cabal of the Black Heart to ascend to dominance. Vecht solidified his position as the supreme overlord of Commorragh, marking a pivotal moment in the city's history and the rise of the meritocratic Cabals over the old aristocracy. But it highlights also how the Drakari are masters of manipulation, even among themselves, which brings us to another possibility for humans to accidentally be drawn into the Dark City, through the process of being unwitting pawns as part of some sadistic Drakari game. we may well imagine a scenario whereby an unsuspecting human world attracts the attention of an Archon seeking amusement or some other twisted experiment, not dissimilarly to the recent example of Naxos. The Drukhari may lure human ships or colonies to hidden webway gates leading directly to Commorragh, using either illusion technologies or other psychic manipulation. They might create false distress signals, beacons, or even a holographic representation of saviors in need. Humanity, driven by a sense of obligated duty or sympathetic compassion, responds to these false signals, unwittingly traversing the hidden paths of the webway, only to find themselves ensnared in the clutches of the sadistic denizens of Commorragh, without the Dark Eldar themselves having to have left the comfort of their carefully woven skin suit armchairs. The unlucky ones will fall straight into the twisted laps of new Drukhari masters, but those arriving may, due to their own confusion, wander into darkened avenues and alleyways, discovering the victims, the escaped slaves, those downtrodden or rebellious factions of humanity, and others within the Dark City. Escaping slaves, fighters from the arenas, or those who have long sought freedom might see the newcomers as a spark of hope in the abyss of despair. They might of course equally exploit their naivety and use them as some diabolical means for escape, for those who have suffered at the hands of the Dark Eldar would do almost anything to escape their lives of misery. Escape from Commorragh by anyone would be an arduous task, demanding cunning, resourcefulness, and at least some plan or understanding of the webway's labyrinthine passages. Newfound allies, human and Eldar alike, must work together to uncover hidden portals, outsmart the ever-watchful eyes of Dark Masters, and survive the numerous dangers that lie between them and freedom. Even if you were to safely reach the webway, humans are not used to such realms and would face the very real possibility of encountering other beings or the hidden dangers which lurk within this interdimensional network. For the webway exists, remember, as a realm of shifting paths and ethereal currents, which can somewhat by design become both salvation or present additional, even potentially deadly challenges to overcome. In the malevolent depths of Commorragh, Drukhari plot and scheme in their ceaseless pursuit of power and revenge. Whispers echo through the obsidian corridors, whispers of an audacious plan to bait rogue traders, daring souls exploring the Imperium's fringe to venture into the twisted heart of the dark dimension claimed by the Drukhari. But why would any rogue trader even consider such a gambit? Quite simply, it is the modus operandi of their trade, balancing ambition and risk. Within the Coronis expanse and beyond, rogue traders select their perilous paths of choice in pursuit of wealth, glory, forbidden knowledge, or powerful archaeotech. They are only able to do this through the wide-reaching autonomy granted them by the Imperium to traverse the very limits of explored space, seeking alliances beyond the Emperor's eternal gaze. However, it is precisely this independence and a hunger for the unknown that makes them both tempting prey and potential pawns for ambitious Drukhari's elaborate games, whose motivations are most commonly either vengeance or ascendance. For Drukhari, power is currency, and vengeance is a dark, creatively practiced art form. As an Archon or Cabal seeks to ascend the ladder of political power, to do so, they must first craft a diabolical plan that maximizes the damage to their enemies, while minimizing exposure to themselves, and exploiting the audacity of humans such as rogue traders, for whom this can be a very tempting prospect. The first strands of a Drukhari's elaborate web would be first to cast out whispers which can reach the ears of rogue traders or their subordinates. These insidious murmurs, tantalizing rumours, spread through shadow channels, whispered by agents in distant corners of hive worlds and trade hubs throughout a sector system or expanse. These will hint at untold treasures, forgotten Dark Age knowledge, and salacious pleasures hidden within the dark recesses of Commorragh. For the sharpest rogue traders, such leads will sound a little too good to be true, and their instincts will be screaming that something is simply not right here. They will avoid the trap through their experience of the correctly sensed horrors that would otherwise await them. But for those driven by avarice, sheer curiosity, or the insatiable lure of the unknown, such bait may well prove to be irresistible. Such rumours are not mere lazy words thrown around in hive districts, they're far more cunning than this. Drukhari craft these whispers with exquisite precision, tailoring each message to the specific desires and vulnerabilities of their chosen targets. Whether promises of archaeotech, lost Eldar artifacts, or exclusive trade opportunities, or simply whatever desires they can discover about a target, the bait will be set. All that is left will be for a rogue trader to take the first steps into the snare. But sniffing around a snare is of course not enough to capture the prey. They must step through the loop themselves before it begins to tighten around them, and the more they struggle to escape, the less possible this becomes. As to further entice any rogue traders, Drukhari will also deploy, as before, illusions of safety and prosperity. False webway portals crafted by the dark arts of the homunculi beckon unwitting explorers with the promises of unusually swift, secure passageways, deceptive beacons mimicking the psychic resonance of an Astronomicon-like signal, promising to guide the rogue traders through the webway of shadows, instilling false confidence in their journey. A ruse that only a well-travelled, greatly experienced crew will be able to detect and avoid. Of course, such illusions are but veils shrouding the true horrors that await within Commorragh, for any rogue traders who stumble into these traps would soon discover the true extent of the Drukhari's gambit. Captives find themselves ensnared within this intricate web of political intrigue where Archons vie for dominance and Cabals manipulate events to their advantage. The rogue traders now become mere playthings in the hands of the Drukhari, subjected to the true horror of the Dark Eldar. Some may be offered a twisted alliance though to avoid the worst sufferings that could be visited upon them, while others become unwilling participants in whatever cruel amusements have been planned for them, as the realm of eternal night and unbridled cruelty inevitably claims those who dare to trespass its boundaries. Each captured soul and each shattered ambition is a step closer to ascendance for those who seek to navigate the twisted hierarchy of Commorragh. The unending nature of such struggles exists as a monument to the cunning and ruthless nature which defines the Dark Masters of the Webway. In the city of eternal night, where captive humans become no more than vessels for the pleasures and insatiable appetites of their eldritch tormentors, existence itself becomes an unending nightmare, and while there are many horrors throughout the galaxy of M41, Commorragh remains truly the heart of darkness, ever serving as a stark reminder that while those which exist within the warp are undoubtedly some of the most corrupting and twisted horrors beyond imagination, such beings are ethereal, not corporeal, which leaves the Drukhari still holding the title of most malevolent civilization in the galaxy. Yet within the twisted city of the Drukhari, there is also great artistry and performance. Not only within their own cabals, their arenas of death and grotesque displays of blood sport, there also exist those most enigmatic performers of the Eldari, who are as elusive as they are stunning in the artistry of even their common movements, weaving and sashaying through the darkened passages of the great city, clad in vibrant prismatic costumes in stark contrast to the soul-consuming darkness and general malevolence that permeates Commorragh. The Eldari Harlequins. Their purpose is mysterious and seemingly intricate. Their presence in Commorragh alone forms part of their metaphysical dance of intrigue. To exist in the same space as the horrors that occur within the Dark Eldar's domain seems an unlikely stage for the Harlequins, yet their troops maintain a delicate balance between performance and manipulation. They may align with various factions inside the city to whatever needs further their cryptic agendas. But Harlequin performances serve as both entertainment and distraction, as beneath the veneer of artistic display, they will navigate through the treacherous politics of Commorragh, manipulating any and all as they deem necessary, driven by a profound connection to the shifting visions of fate. Like all Eldar, they seek to find the perfect path forward, But Harlequin goals are never clear, nor is their service to the Laughing God, one of the few Eldar gods whose existence remains a question mark. What many commonly fail to understand is that their performances are not mere spectacle, but intricate rituals that resonate with the psychic energies of the webway. Within Commorragh, their most likely cause to be in such a place could be to disrupt a Drakari Cabal's power play, or in crushing the plans of a rival Harlequin mask. They may also recognise the destructive potential of those from real space, particularly humans, who possess a unique vulnerability to seductive whispers. For just as the Drakari, Harlequins are masters of psychological manipulation, able to entice unsuspecting humans into their cosmic dance of fate. Many who fall prey to such lures will find themselves quickly as unwitting participants, entangled in a complex alien drama beyond their understanding, and who may become either a tool or potential source of disruption within the ever-shifting power struggles of the Dark City and the waves of disruption that will inevitably emanate into the wider galaxy. To understand Commorragh, one must realise that every corner, every avenue, every pathway that promises salvation and security could equally be a trap that consumes your soul and condemns you to an existence of suffering. Every shadow conceals a threat, every alliance a fragile pact. Even where there is beauty, there exists deception. For Harlequin performances transcend mere artistry. They serve as conduits for manipulation and to twist the fate of those they require control over within the Dark City. Humans drawn into this clearly have no hope against such beings in a city where power is everything and the line between ally and adversary is as elusive as the Eldari themselves. Commorragh and those who exist within its boundary constitute one of the gravest of existential threats to the Imperium of mankind. Its continued existence casts a long and destabilizing shadow across the dominion of the Imperium. The danger lies not only in the obviously offensive and sadistic nature of the Drakari, but also in the strategic and psychological impact they continue to inflict upon the Imperium. The Drakari's mastery of the webway allows them to strike swiftly and unpredictably at the fringes of Imperial space. These raids, often characterized with the ruthless capture of human slaves for their soul essence, sow terror, and their unpredictability creates an immense challenge for the Imperium to fortify territories effectively. The Dark Eldar force continued wastage of critical Imperial resources and manpower. Additionally, Commorragh enables the construction of dark alliances who actively threaten the stability of the Imperium. The ever-shifting power dynamics within the Dark City also create an environment where loyalties are as ephemeral as shadows, even for those who have existed there for millennia. Attempting to discern friend from foe is often a near impossible task, leading to vulnerabilities that can be exploited, and none of this is constructive for humanity. Then, of course, the very nature of the Dark Eldar cannot be ignored. Their existence introduces a psychological warfare element in how they threaten humanity. For the fear instilled by their raids extends beyond immediate physical devastation, permeating Imperial societies with dread, uncertainty, and a sense of helplessness that threatens very often to shatter the cohesive stability that many Imperial worlds survive upon. Only made possible by the promise of the Imperium's ability to protect its citizens. Without that, things may in fact fall apart very quickly. The consistent capture and torment of human souls by the Drakari serve not only as a means of sustaining their existence, but as a clear demonstration of the Imperium's failure and a haunting reminder of the ever-present threats that loom large in the darker corners of the galaxy. For humanity, the real danger of Commorragh and the Dark Eldar lies not just in their physical prowess, but in the strategic, psychological, and symbolic impact they inflict upon the Imperium. While not as numerous as the forces of chaos or the alien horrors of the Tyranid, it is the unrelenting nature of their raids, their twisted political machinations, the disturbing horrors visited upon humankind that is then capitalized upon in the form of psychological warfare, which contributes to them as being one of the most destabilizing forces that continues to undermine the Imperium's security, order, and even its core ideological identity.